afternoon, everybody. So I'm here to talk to you about Exhibit S. It's a basically 9-month-old cultural and art space in downtown Plaza. Well, show of hands, who's been to downtown Plaza in like the last 3 or so years? Yeah. So you guys know it's a sad, sad place. And so we wanted to basically start rebranding downtown as a place where cutting-edge arts and culture activity was happening, make it a community gathering place again, and that's what we've been up to. So just let's go into kind of like the origins of it. Imagine there's an amazing video that's playing. So the idea came from me and an artist I've been working with named Daniel Lachman. Some of you see my Facebook. He has these amazing installations made out of tape, and he had just finished a museum show. And so we were looking for a place to actually have our own space to showcase him, to do business. And we were, looking at different rents, and we're just like, why not approach a place that has nothing but open space, and they'll probably give it to us for free. And so as it turned out, the Hyundai dealership had just moved out. They'd kind of closed their doors, and it was just kind of boarded up. And so we asked them all if they would give us the keys to this place, and we didn't really know what we were going to do with it, but we're like, it would be awesome. And they're like, sure, which was very surprising. We literally sent an email, and then the next week we had keys to this. So it's a 7,300 square foot facility, and so we turned it from a place with sonatas everywhere to a really kind of thriving art and culture space. And so what does that space consist of? So one of the things we really wanted to do was to put the artist process on display. So the first thing we did was create these artist studio spaces, many of which you could actually see from the mall. You can see Danny's space on the top right. He's literally like an artist in a fishbowl. It's been really, really awesome to have him there. He really engaged with the public. We have studios in the back where kind of the more hardcore, messy art stuff happens. We have a green screen in the back for video editing and a film studio. So that was a really important part, is to actually have the process on the premises. That's not something you really get to see. Obviously, the gallery is one of the most important aspects of it. We really wanted to have a place where we could showcase a broad variety of regional artists. A place that, because the space is so large, I believe our art space is the biggest publicly available art space besides the Crocker. And so we really wanted to utilize all of that. So we got these white movable walls, so it's a really dynamic space where every installation can be different. And we've been able to highlight anything from photography. There was a really cool project focusing on our food culture that's emerging in the region. And then we've also had anything from sculpture to tape installations. The store. Those cute little guys there, they're in the store right now. I love them. They're called cock blocks. Anyway, see if you get it. But anyway, because we only have so many gallery shows, we have about one a month. Sometimes we try to squeeze in 2. We weren't going to be able to really highlight that many creative people. So we developed the store as a way to kind of have dozens and dozens of artists have their work on display. It's at a much more affordable price point as well. I mean, we're next door to Forever 21, so we wanted to have something where a girl could come in and be like, oh my God, and leave with something she could actually afford. So that was something that was really important to establish, and it's been going really well. It's been so bizarre to be in retail in the mall in the holidays, but it's actually been a great place to get gifts, and it's been nice to see the community really respond positively to what we're putting out there. Classroom. So obviously we have all these amazing artists in the space. We wanted to have a place where people could come and actually learn these different processes. So we've had tons of classes, like little kids come and learn how to draw. We have 2 of our resident artists who are actually teachers anyway, so they've been able to kind of run a pretty consistent program. They're doing a woodblock carving. These woodblocks will eventually be printed with steamrollers, which is a really neat process that I've never seen in Sacramento before. So we're able to do a lot of innovative things because of the diversity of talent that we're able to have. So how do we make this all happen? Who are the players? Who's our team? Obviously, Danny Scheibel, my collaborator. Actually, throughout this process, I became so engrossed in Exhibit S that essentially Tapegami became solely Danny, and I started to kind of run with this. And it's been a really great way to have my own vehicle. Obviously, I still work with Danny and sell his work, but he's kind of taken full creative control of that, and this is like my brainchild now. So that's been great. Maren Conrad, she's another artist that we moved in first. She works with multiple layers of resin, metal leaf, and painting. And actually, when we met her, she was showing these beautiful glossy paintings. And I was like, what is this made of? She's like, resin. I was like, can you put that on tape? She's like, maybe. And so we started experimenting with her and collaborating, and she was actually able to really refine Danny's process. So it was great to have a space where collaboration was encouraged, where it wasn't competitive, and everyone was better as a result. Matt Brown, he's a digital projection artist and painter. He does not get his face photographed. He's a fairly odd guy. Sully's new best friend, actually. But he's awesome. And then we have Erica, Lady Beaver Lipkiss. She loves to twerk. Actually, her story's funny. She was our first artist in residence. We wanted to really have this place be not only a space that supported Sacramento talent, but a place where people from outside the community could come, get to learn about what we're doing here, and then kind of export it to where they came from. And so she came from Oakland, and she enjoyed her week stay so much, she actually moved to Sacramento to be a part of the space permanently. So that was really exciting. You can see some of her beaver prints on the side. She's an interesting lady. This is the Believist. He's our resident videographer. One thing that was really important to us, especially because we knew it would be a temporary space with the arena coming, was to document. And so Teddy has been there to kind of photograph and make videos of everything we do, which is really going to help us tell the story of it and kind of have a history of it once it's gone. And then me. Everyone always asks me, what's your art form? I'm like, promotion? I don't know. I made a desk. But I essentially call me the student tie of the space. So that's been kind of interesting to be around so many creative people and be like the business person, but it's been nice. So engagement. Obviously with this gigantic free essentially space, I mean, I'll let you guys know exactly what we pay. So Hyundai was paying like $15,000 a month. We pay $250 for maintenance space. So it really allows us to do whatever we want, so we're not worried about really overhead at all. And so we really wanted to make sure that we shared this space with the community as much as possible. So engagement's been a really big thing for us. So how do we do that? Well, partnerships. So we basically try to export Exhibit S outside of our space as often as possible. We participate in anything from Chalk It Up, where our artists were featured, to Launch, which is a big music festival that's happening, art festivals that happen in Midtown. Obviously, we coordinate with a lot of the other vendors in the plaza to kind of bring what we're doing to their businesses. A lot of them have been struggling, and a lot of them have responded really positively to the fact that there's something exciting that's bringing new people back, people who haven't been to the mall in 5 years. I mean, I had not, and now I live there, basically. And then we've also been partnering with a lot of kind of restaurant and beverage companies to kind of donate their services to our events, so it helps us do as many things as we can. Obviously, events are the way we engage the most. Art shows, clearly, we've had about, I'd say 7. Currently, we have Confluential, which is Danny and Marin's 2-person show, which is one of the first shows in Sacramento where 2 artists have combined their processes into one kind of collaborative event. It's been really well received. And we've done a variety of others as well. Community events. So we wanted to make sure that we not only did art-focused events, but we actually brought other people into our space. The picture you're probably looking at most is the Red Dress Party. That's a big AIDS fundraiser in Sacramento. We held a kind of awareness building event around their fundraiser, and that was something me and Marin did to get people to buy tickets. I hope it worked. We had the Sacramento's first vegan pop-up dinner called the Roaming Spoon debuted in our space. The Be Food Critic came, it was a really big deal. We had even a tea party to kind of appeal to maybe an older section of people that weren't really coming to the mall, and that was really cute, all these old ladies. So here's the Culture Keggers event we came up with in the very beginning. We wanted to be able to have a place where we could have a free event. Oftentimes, especially in the arts community, those of you who are involved with that, everything costs money, everything's a fundraiser, or it's for a particular gallery or a particular art form. We really wanted a place that a whole cross-section of the community could come, whether you're a journalist, a politician, an artist, a designer, a developer, whoever. And so we developed this idea to have Culture Keggers, and they've been really successful as a way to kind of gather anyone who's basically contributing to the life in Sacramento. We have started to associate themes with them. That one on the bottom left was the first one, that's my favorite poster. The second one we kind of associated with a Kickstarter that was happening for a comic book. The other one we did for the Red Dress fundraiser. So it's been a really kind of creative way to engage the community directly. Another amazing video. So obviously just parties have been which we kind of separate from Culture Keggers because those have like a meaningful purpose. These are just to have fun. Well, sometimes they have a purpose too. So, for instance, Lyft, are you guys familiar with this car sharing company? Well, they recently launched in Sacramento, and they actually had their launch party at our space because they'd heard, I guess through the grapevine, that we were doing something really amazing, and typically they don't do malls, they said, but they made an exception. So that was really cool. We actually had these 2 Kenyan runners who were sponsored to come to the marathon come, and we had a nice event for them. We had a War Halloween party, which was really, really amazing. We were able to cover most of the gallery in foil to kind of resemble Warhol's Silver Factory. So we've really been able to do a lot of things that most spaces can't do, either because of space or because of common sense. So a residency, like I said before, is a way for us to bring people who are not permanent residents into our space. Obviously, Soli is our current resident. We were really, in her case, it was really great to have her because she's from Sacramento, but has kind of created a whole artistic life way, way far away. And so to kind of reintegrate her into what's been happening has been great. I think she's gotten a lot out of it. We certainly have. And it's been kind of a meaningful thing that, unfortunately, we probably won't be able to do for much longer. So press. So that was obviously something that we wanted from the very beginning because we wanted as many people to know about it as possible, and we've actually been able to receive some pretty good press from NPR to USA Today actually covered our grand opening, so that was cool. We were recently featured on the cover of our local independent, SNR, as like the people who took over this mall and kind of made it cool again, which was nice recognition. And recently we were in San Francisco Magazine's December issue where they were kind of looking at all the different cutting edge galleries, and all of them were in San Francisco except for ours. So that was really kind of nice, legitimate recognition, which doesn't really happen in Sacramento galleries very often. So kind of like, what are some metrics that we can talk about? Our lowest estimate, our conservative estimates, is over 25,000 people have come through this space since we opened on June 27th, which is quite a lot. And the mall has really been grateful for the increase in foot traffic, not only the sheer amount of people, but the type of people that we're bringing in. Obviously, it's made our art scene more visible and more cohesive because so many different artists who had never met, so many different patrons who had never really associated the downtown area with it. Yeah, let's wrap it up. Okay, so we were recently nominated for what's called the Vibe Award, which the Downtown Sacramento Partnership gives to like the most impactful thing affecting the culture of downtown, so hopefully we win. And what we really wanted to do more than all is to kind of prove that this kind of thing met a community need, that people want to engage with the creative community, they want a place that welcomes a whole spectrum of people into it, and hopefully that influences what we'll do in the future. So speeding through this, lessons learned, have a really cool and down team, go for something really bold, because what we found is that even though we had no idea how we'd be able to pull this off, the fact that we were going for it inspired a lot of people to help us. Where if it was manageable, like it'd be manageable, we wouldn't get any help. Tap your networks, obviously rely on people you know, make sure you have a diverse cast of characters to help out, and make sure what you're doing is fun. And awesome video. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of cities around the country have kind of done different types of programming to bring artists in the hopes that it would bring kind of more foot traffic to their areas. So, I mean, there's a lot of places that have made it work successfully. As far as our case, when we first proposed this idea, I actually went to dinner at a councilman's house, and this guy from the Downtown Sacramento Partnership was next to me. And he, had been drinking and was like, when you guys wrote us that letter, we were like, this will never work. No one will ever like this at all. And now they've nominated us for their highest award. So I think that people are not, especially maybe politicians and business people, are not necessarily the ones who would have a vision for the benefits, more so kind of the hassle. I think that the community's been really overwhelmingly supportive, and because of our kind of unusual location, we purposely went after a mall because it already had like some basis for foot traffic and is already a place that people go to spend money. And it's also a place where you can reach all sorts of people. Not every downtown dilapidated area is gonna have that kind of foundation. So even though it wasn't a really great mall, there was still at least like a Macy's, people still went. So I think that we didn't necessarily have like such skepticism that other places would have. Yeah, it's everyone's favorite question. Mine too. I would say that, it depends on who's in the space you're talking to. I think that for some of the artists such as Danny, this period of kind of incubation and being part of a group studio was great while it lasted, but a lot of the artists have received so much exposure as a result of being in this space that they no longer need to have that environment. So Danny's gonna go and have his own studio. Erica's gonna go into a different co-working space. As far as, many of the artists will do that. I think Teddy and I will continue to work together. As far as what's next for me, we should be winding down the space at the end of January. So February will be kind of our move out month. And that's because not only is the arena coming, which was not in any way definite when we arrived on the scene. In fact, I think had it been, maybe there would have been more difficulty in getting the space. But they're actually moving a bunch of the displaced retailers into our space. So our space will become like 4 spaces, basically. So we have to move out a lot earlier. And so what my plan is to do is to kind of take this concept of placemaking, taking, the entire community, different businesses, different cultural resources, and kind of working with the developer to do that in another area. There's particularly an area in Sacramento, for those of you familiar with Sacramento, R Street. It's a kind of historic warehouse district there. There's actually a development that's being built as we speak, which is kind of a creative, professional artist housing. And it's meant to be kind of the start of an entire cultural district from the river up to Safeway. And so they've been kind of talking to me along the way about like, how do we recreate this? And so that will likely be my next step, is working with that organization to put this whole cultural corridor on the map. But in general, I think that the people who have noticed what we've been doing, a lot of developers and a lot of council members actually have reached out to me and said, like, how do we bring something like this to our neighborhood? And so hopefully the legacy of Exhibit S is that we prove that this is something the community really wants, and if people are willing to work hard at it, it can be really a valuable resource.